Australia might not be home to the largest collection of roller coasters, but there's certainly some good ones. We visited 5 of their signature parks, and today we're going to be counting down the top 10 collective roller coasters there.
This is not an exhaustive list of every coaster in Australia. As you said, we visited 5 of the major parks. So we'll talk about the ones at the end that we didn't get to do and maybe speculate where they might be on this list.
Yeah, and this is going to be a list that absolutely is going to evolve over time, especially since new roller coasters are currently being built at places like Dream World and Warner Brothers Movie World. So it's going to be exciting to see how this changes over time. But let's jump in.
At the number 10 spot, we have one of the oldest roller coasters in the entire world, and that's the Scenic Railway at Luna Park, Melbourne.
Yeah, so this thing opened back in 1912, so it does hold the record for being the longest continually operating roller coaster that's still left standing, beating out Leap the Dips, even though Leap the Dips is a little bit older. This has been operating for longer. It's only 52 feet tall, and it doesn't go very fast at all, about 37 miles per hour.
Yeah, so it's a brakeman or brakewoman operated coaster. We had a brakewoman, and she was amazing. You know, you have to imagine it can't be so over-the-top extreme that someone's able to stand on it. But unlike some of the other brakeman operated coasters that we've done, this one's really, really tame, no airtime really or anything, but it is such an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I mean, it literally goes around the entire perimeter of the park. So no matter where you are on this layout, you can look out and see all of the other attractions, guests walking around. There's tons of amazing views. I mean, the park is literally right next to the beach. So it's just so iconic.
Yeah, if you want to put it into historical perspective, this coaster opened the same year that the Titanic sunk. So think about that, how long ago that
Absolutely
really was.
Wild. And this is only one of 2 wind roller coasters in Australia. And number 9, we have Moto Coaster at Dream World. So you're riding on a motorcycle here, going along the roller coaster track, but it is one of Intamin's older designs. So you can see how far they've progressed with now the straddle coasters of what we have at the SeaWorld parks.
Yeah, so it's a tire-driven launch. It reaches a speed of about 45 miles per hour. So not crazy fast. The layout's not overly complex. It's just, helices and some turns here and there, whatever. But it's a pretty fun layout. I found the seating to be comfortable and I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's a good family coaster for what Dream World has to offer.
So number 8 on our list was a roller coaster that sort of made its way around Australia. So currently Gold Coaster is operating at Dream World, but it used to be at Luna Park, Sydney as Big Dipper.
Yeah, which is really, really cool because we got to visit both locations. And so this is an aerodynamics custom looping coaster, 2 inversions. But what's interesting about it is that the inversions come towards the end of the layout. So it's definitely bizarre. I mean, it's an older attraction. It opened back at Luna Park in 1995. So it definitely bangs you around a little bit, but it's still pretty good, all things considered. And speaking of Big Dipper, for number 7, let's talk about a different Big Dipper. This is a ride that is currently in Gold Coaster's old spot. Big Dipper opened at Luna Park Sydney in 2021, and it's the world's first Intamin hot racer.
Kind of in the style of an RMC Raptor, but not as good.
Right, but that doesn't mean that they don't do some things well, because actually the restraint setup with the seats is extremely comfortable, and we like that way more than the Raptor setup.
However, she rattles a lot.
Big Dipper is not the smoothest. I mean, it's still good enough that it made the number 7 on this spot. However, we would have this ride significantly higher if it were actually a smooth experience.
So since this ride opened, Intamin has sold another hot racer coaster, and the hope is that, they can tweak some things a little bit and make it a better experience, because the thing is, it has so much potential. You know what I mean? The single rail, model, period, is really, really cool. Very visually awesome. This ride's stunning. But it's just needs a little fine-tuning.
Yeah, and specifically the further back you sit in the train. When you sit up front, it's not quite as bad, but man, those back row rides are really, really rough. You gotta kind of pace yourself with this. It's not necessarily one that you might want to marathon.
So for number 6, we are making our way over to SeaWorld Australia, not actually part of the SeaWorld chain. However, they do have a lot of overlap as far as different kinds of coaster models that they do. And like the SeaWorld parks in the US, they also have a mock water coaster. Storm coaster.
Yeah, it's a clone of the water coaster at Jers Summerland, so it's not a super long ride, but the reason why we have it this high is because this is actually a pretty well-themed experience. After you plunge down this drop and into the splash pool, they have this really immersive atmosphere. It's called the Storm Coaster. So you have all these warnings of this big storm coming. There's things on fire, the lights are flashing, you have water just flowing out of everything. Right outside there's a bunch of overturned vehicles. It's just a really cool presentation. And at number 5, halfway through, we have Green Lantern at Warner Brothers Movie World. So when this ride opened, it was the world's steepest roller coaster. It takes riders down at 120.5 45-degree angle, which is crazy, and actually it's only 1 degree off from being the world's steepest. That'd be TMNT Shellraiser at the American Dream Mall.
These locos are like total spectacles to look at. Like, it's so crazy looking. This one is particularly well done. Like, I find that this is one of like the more comfortable, smoother models. Visually, it looks great. The operations were pretty fast. Like, everything was running very smoothly, and no complaints from me.
And this was your first El Loco, which is a little bit bizarre because I would say most people probably start with something like maybe Steel Hog at Indiana Beach, which has these like really uncomfortable shoulder harnesses. Mumbo Jumbo at Flamingo Land has the same.
Well, that was the next one that I did. And
yeah.
I was like,
it's nowhere near as good, right? I
mean, it's fine, but it does, like, this is way more comfortable with like the lap bar seating.
Yeah, and it's also 4 across. This is the only El Loco that has double the capacity of the usual one. So,
which is needed because it's a very busy park.
Yeah, this is one of the longer lines there, but it's still like really cool. Right when you arrive at Movie World, this is like one of the first things you see because it's right at the edge of the parking lot.
And I just like it's like this really bright green color, and like you have it right next to like a bright pink coaster. It's just like very vibrant and fun.
Totally.
We'll get to the pink one later. So at the number 4 spot is a coaster that while we enjoyed it, we didn't get to enjoy it in like its fullest form. So Steeltipan is a mock multi-launch coaster, and typically they have a spinning car at the very end of the train, and we did not get so lucky as to experience that.
Yeah, which is pretty unfortunate because I think if we had done it, then there's a chance that this ride would be higher up on our list.
It's already 4, so it's not bad.
Yeah, we've heard it compared to like Ride to Happiness, how it just like spins like crazy on this layout. So that's unfortunate that we didn't get to do it, but it's still cool that they offer it if you get so lucky. Some of you guys might be familiar with this ride because it is actually a modified version of Blue Fire at Europa Park. All they did was convert that single launch into a multi-pass launch and added this like fishtail at the very end. So it's definitely unique.
Yeah, so while it looks really cool, I think that Blue Fire operates better the way it was originally intended to, because the way that the wing launch is set up, it kind of feels like it goes on forever, where there's just straight track, and it's like the acceleration is almost feels slower because it's like so drawn out, and like I just think it worked better like the original way. But this was still really fun. Like the rest of the layout is great, and like it's got that what do we call it?
The blue fire roll.
Or the Steeltipan roll in this case.
Yeah, you just like whip so hard through it. It was the Mosasaurus roll on Velocicoaster before Velocicoaster did it. And at the number 3 spot, you know, we talked about Motocoaster earlier, how that restraint setup is kind of outdated. So with their new straddle seating setup, we have Jet Rescue at SeaWorld in Australia. That opened in 2008, and it just blew our minds. This ride was so much better than we were expecting.
Jet Rescue is like what I wish rides like Wavebreaker actually operated like. They appeal to the same demographic that those rides were intended for, while being like more whippy, more forceful, more punchy. It's just an overall better ride.
And I think that our expectations were significantly lower for this because we had done rides like Wavebreaker. And so then when we rode this, we're like, whoa, you know what? This is actually more similar to Juvaland at Jura Summerland. And if you've experienced that ride, you know just how good it is.
Yeah, do not sleep on the tire launches or the boosts.
Tire launches can be really good. So Jet Rescue, significantly better than we were expecting. And that's why we have it at the number 3 spot.
And I have to say, one thing that's interesting is when we were looking at the RCDB page, it opened the day after Christmas, which is so bizarre as an American to think about. But technically, that's summertime for them.
Yeah,
that's like prime time to open up a ride. But for us, I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
But makes sense. All right, so we're bringing it back to the pink coaster for our number 2 spot, which I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I can't believe this didn't end up being our number 1.
Yeah.
It's like kind of insane. So we'll get to number 1 in a second, but number 2 is DC Rivals at Warner Brothers Movie World.
So this is a mock hypercoaster, a legendary attraction, like well sought out by coaster enthusiasts. You know, it's so far away on the other side of the world. Everyone's like, what is this like? And when we went to experience it, we were very impressed by a lot of things, but there was one glaring aspect of it that I think held it back for us, and that was the middle section of the ride. There's this helix that just, I feel like, really kills the pacing. And I think the ride would benefit from taking that helix out. Suddenly, that layout feels way punchier. And it's still a really long ride. Like, you know, in its current state, it's 4,500 feet of track.
So long.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. And so the ride would actually be improved by being a shorter experience, because all the other moments hit really well.
Please, Hyperia, do that.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see how Hyperia is at Thorpe Park for sure.
So another thing that's really awesome about this ride is that, similar to Steeltipan having like a spinning seat in the back, This one has a backward facing seat, which is like the freaking craziest experience ever riding this thing backward. Oh my God.
Yeah. So this was our favorite backwards experience that we did in Australia, and that's important because the next ride that we're going to talk about also has a backward seat. But DC Rivals, we thought, just like did it so well because you're taking this first drop like facing the opposite direction. You don't know when you're about to drop, and then it has this crazy non-inverting loop which just throws you so hard to the side.
And I'm thinking about all those airtime hills at the end, like taking them backward is so cool.
Yeah, definitely. So here we are, our number one Australian roller coaster. It's actually Leviathan at SeaWorld.
Yeah, this was very unexpected. Like, we knew that it would probably be like 1 or 2, but I don't think either of us actually thought it was going to be 1. Like, it was definitely like, this will be behind DC Rivals.
Yeah, so DC Rivals has near excellent pacing. Leviathan has superb pacing.
So this is a Gravity Group layout, but it is manufactured and built by Martin and Vlemix. Think about like how you have like the Gravity Group, very like punchy, quick airtime hills and lateral G-forces and everything all thrown together in like a twister layout.
Yeah.
And that's what you get with this ride.
Yeah, I kind of liken it to Boardwalk Bullet at Kima Boardwalk. How you just have this huge mess of track, over 3,000 feet long, just confined into this extremely tight space. How they managed to fit in all that this ride offers into this layout is wildly impressive.
Obviously, your expectations are going to be high because Gravity Group has like just so many amazing coasters out there, but this really holds up to being like one of their best ever. Period.
Yeah, we also went shortly after it opened, and so it was running very smooth for us, which I think is important. At this point in time, it has been about a year since we've ridden it, so I can't speak for how it's currently running. Hopefully just as well, but yeah.
I'm going to guess so, because it seems like Australia doesn't really mess around when it comes to like safety and upkeep.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would let this thing go long without like, you know,
giving
being
it the care
thoroughly
it needs.
checked and you know, maybe parts being like set aside for like, okay, we have to retract this in the near future. Like, I don't think they're going to let this thing go downhill.
For sure. So that is our list of the top 10 roller coasters we experienced in Australia. What are some rides that we did not experience?
Yes, I was going to say keyword is the rides that we experienced. So we got a little unlucky because of the time of year we decided to go. So we missed out on the Scooby-Doo coaster, which we heard is incredible. We got to do like a backstage tour and check it out. And like the animatronics and the theming were amazing.
Yeah.
Can't say about the coaster.
And this was announced after we had already booked the trip. And actually, it's still closed. It's reopening in 2025. They're doing a huge overhaul to this thing. So if we had to take a guess of where it would place, I would say between Steeltipan and Green Lantern. Because even though it's just a wild mouse, I think there's enough redeeming factors of it that would send it up for us.
Oh, yeah. And Scooby-Doo.
Hello. Oh, yeah. Love it. Great theme.
Another one that we missed, this one we were aware of in advance, but it still hurt.
Superman Escape. It's an Intamin hydraulic launch coaster. It is a short ride, but it does look pretty punchy. It also has a really cool dark ride section. We did get to check that out when we were at Warner Brothers.
So
I was
cool.
Really thrilled that we got to like get up close and see it in person. I think if we had to guess where this would place, I would say number 3, probably after DC Rivals.
Another place we didn't get to visit is Gamboya World, which has 3 operating roller coasters, one of which is a Mauer Skyloop, which I really like those, so
Yeah.
I imagine that probably would have been on the list.
Yeah, actually came from Dreamworld, funny enough, which is pretty cool. And then they also have a Vekoma family suspended coaster. It's like a clone of Dragonfly or Dollywood or Cannon at Far Up Summerland. We did not visit this park because the roller coasters were not operating when we would have been able to go, which was a bummer. But and then the last one was Adventure World, which is all the way in Perth. They have a Gerstlauer Eurofighter, kind of similar to Saw the Ride. We weren't about to go all the way to Perth for a Eurofighter.
Yeah, people are like, why are you not going? I'm like, do you realize that's like telling someone who's visiting New York to like, oh, go to LA just to ride one thing.
Yeah.
That's no.
If DC Rivals were in Perth, I think it'd be a different story. So that's why we did New Zealand instead, and we had a great time there.
Yeah, that was really fun. We can't do a list about New Zealand coasters because there's like 3.
And we rode 2 of them.
We did.
Stupid rainbow coaster.
I'll make it really easy for you. It's the mine train and then the kiddie coaster.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's the list.
You don't need a video. That's it.
Yeah, but Australia has some really cool up-and-coming projects. As we talked about at the beginning of the video, they're working on the Wizard of Oz area for Warner Brothers, which is going to have technically 3 roller coasters, 2 Vekoma family boomerangs, and then a Vekoma family suspended coaster. So that's going to be really cool. The theme is going to be awesome. And then Dream World is building something very, very cool.
Yeah, it's like a first of its kind Vekoma coaster with like what they say. It's like different tracks like that you can like be on. I don't know. It's gonna cause a credit debacle. I'm sure.
A cool turntable aspect of it's gonna be very well themed. It's called Jungle Rush. It's replacing their like big kids area that we saw. So this is gonna be a really welcome addition there. I'm imagining something like Big Bear Mountain, but cooler.
Ooh, yay.
Yeah. So I look forward to visiting Australia again one day. But out of the ones we experienced, these are how we rank them.
Yep.
So let us know down in the comments below if you have visited Australia, what your favorite rides are there, if you agree with the list that we came up with. And of course, stay tuned for more here at Coaster Studios. We'll see you next time.